Welcome back. In this last step on Spring JDBC, let's try and retrieve some data from the database. So let's go to course JDBC repository. And we would want to fire a select query. Let's also fire select query by ID. So I'll say select query. So select query, select from course, select star from course where ID is equal to question mark. We already executed this, right? Select star from course, but we would want to get the details for a specific course only. So that's the reason why what I'm doing is select star from course where ID is equal to question mark. And let's create a method for that in here. I'll say public. When you execute a query, you would get a course back. So public, the return value is course, find by ID, long ID. And what we want to do is we would want to execute this query and return results back. And therefore you cannot use the update method. That's where you'd want to go with a method called query. If you're only expecting one result back, for example, when we query by ID, we would only expect a single course back. In that kind of scenario, you can also say query for object. So I'm saying I'm querying for a specific object. And I'd want to execute this select query. And now there are two very, very important things that we would need to do. We have the select query which we want to fire. What we want to do is we would want to map the result. When you execute a select query, what is the thing that you would get? If you execute select star from course, you would get this kind of result set back. What we want to do is to take this result set and we would want to map it to the course bean. So we would want to do a result set to a bean mapping. And we will also need to send ID as the input. So the third parameter in here is the ID. So ID is the input. The second parameter which is present in here helps us to map result set to bean. The things which help us to map result set to bean are called row mappers. They map each row in the result set to a specific bean. And in our specific situation, our column names in the table match the exact names in the bean. So if you look at the course, ID, name, and author. And if you look at our table, ID, name, and author. And therefore, we can use something called bean property row mapper. So let's go ahead and say bean property and press Control space. You should see bean property row mapper come up. To this, I can pass what kind of class to map to. So I would want to map to course class. So course dot class. So what we are doing in here, we are firing the select query using ID as the parameter. So in the select query, the ID will be replaced and the result set we are mapping using bean property row mapper. To which class? We are mapping it to the course class. And we need to return this back. Let's move the comment to the top and make it simple for us to understand. Okay, let's save this. And we would want to fire a find by ID query. Let's go over to the command line runner. After the delete by ID, what I would do is I would add in a sysout. So a sysout, and what you want to do is to repository dot find by ID 2. And let's also do a find by ID on 3. We deleted the 1. So 1 would give you an error, but 2 and 3 should give you the right values back. So let's see that. Learn JPA and Hibernate application. I'm getting a couple of things printed, but they are both empty. Why? The reason why it's not working is if you go to the course class, we only have getters in here. We don't have setters. So let's go ahead and create a setter as well. So right click, source, generate getters and setters. Let's also select setters and generate. So now we are generating setters for all these things. Let's do a format of code. Let's stop the application and start it again. The course beans are now printed out. You can see the course beans in here with all the values pre-populated that are printed out in here. In last few steps, we played with Spring JDBC. Are you excited to learn about JPA and Spring Data JPA? I'll see you in the next steps.